Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back, and it's Friday, September 11th, and it's 9:49 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope everyone is doing well. Sit back, relax, put your feet up, put the fire on, have a cup of coffee, or whatever you want, and relax and listen to the news. All right, guys, let's get into it. Now, you're aware of what happened yesterday. I had recorded two videos in their entirety and then realized that I had no sound. And somebody said, well, can't you see in your monitor if the sound's not working? Well, no, actually, I can't, because it appears as if the sound is working, but there is a little wire in the back of my microphone that works its way loose every now and then with possibly the help of cats. And that's what happened. So I now have added that to my checklist before each show. So, okay. Well, and the other thing is I had to go out today. When I came back, you know how Windows computers are. I need to get a Mac because it shut down and restarted and I lost my work. So I have been scrambling to get some things ready for you tonight, but I lost what I had only redone one show last night, and I wanted to redo the second one because I had really good information, but I've lost it. So anyway, I have got some good information anyway, and we're just going to run with what we have. So I do want to thank the following people. They donated via coffee. Barb Flowers Bell from Cincinnati. I know her as Barbara B from Cincinnati. I like that because it rhymes. And Gumby's mom. And I don't know why, but I love that name because my brother's nickname was Gumby all during growing up. So it brings back fond memories for me. Anyway, she donated monthly. Diane Haney, thank you very much for your donation. Maury and Tammy, they're donating monthly. Big Booty, and I know she's from Australia, and she is donating monthly. Julie Boyce Hall is donating monthly. And Nana Bytes gave us a donation. So thank you guys so very, very much. And let's get into the news. All right. And also thank you guys who have switched over from Patreon to coffee. And I've said this before, and I will stop mentioning it after so many shows, but I want to make sure all my regulars have heard that on coffee, they do the same sort of thing. You can give a monthly amount, and they do not take anything, they do not take 1 penny, whereas Patreon does keep money aside. And I have found out that they support Black Lives Matter, which is a little bit disconcerting to me. Now, I haven't taken my Patreon down or anything, and I won't, because there are probably people that prefer that, but just wanted to let you know that with coffee, your donation goes a lot farther because it all gets to this channel. So there you go, and let's get into the news. Okay, well, let's look at this first. Yeah, but this is from a couple days ago, but it's still pretty fresh, and it's worth looking into. University of Rhode Island to remove World War II murals due to lack of diversity. You know, this concerns me because this seems to be a trend, and they take murals down or what have you because it may be accurately reflecting history, but they want to take it down because it doesn't have diversity. So, it just doesn't make sense to me, because really you could use that argument for everything. You could go and say, well, that Native American mural doesn't have, black people or white people in it, so we need to take that down. I mean, it's ridiculous, because if it's reflecting history accurately, then what is the deal? What do they want to rewrite history? Well, as a matter of fact, they do. So let's take a look at this. The University of Rhode Island recently announced plans to remove 2 murals depicting the events of World War II due to their lack of diversity. The decision was prompted after students complained that the mural was not compatible with the university's values of inclusivity. According to the school's vice president of student affairs, some of our students have even shared with us they didn't feel comfortable sitting in that space. Well, they need to buck up. Like, suck it up, Buttercup. I mean, when we were going to school, my gosh, we didn't have computers and all that back then, and there weren't a lot of little girls to play with in my neighborhood, so I always hung around with the boys, and I came home with broken bones and scrapes and bruises and everything. But I lived my life and I had fun. But now, I mean, are you kidding me? I don't feel comfortable sitting in that space. Wow. Whining, sniveling malcontents. That's what we're raising. Really. According to a local news report, the University of Rhode Island plans to remove 2 70-year-old murals that depict World War II over concerns they do not feature enough diversity. The murals were painted to pay respect to the memories of those that lost their lives in World War II. The mural features various scenes, including veterans returning to the United States and a University of Rhode Island class reunion. Kathy Collins, the University of Rhode Island's Vice President of Student Affairs, said that she had received numerous complaints from students about the mural's lack of diversity. Well, I'm not sure if I believe that or not, because, you know, if it offends her, she can just as easily say, well, the students are all upset about this. Yeah. I have received complaints about the murals that portray a very homogeneous population. Predominantly, the persons painted and depicted on the wall are predominantly white, and that does not represent who our institution is today, Collins said. Some of our students have even shared with us they didn't feel comfortable sitting in that space. Well, that's ridiculous because it's reflecting history. So what is it that they're wanting to do? Apparently, they want to do away with all history that has to do with whites or anything else, or anything that doesn't have enough black people in the picture or what have you. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So the murals were painted by Art Sherman, who is now a 95-year-old veteran and a member of the University of Rhode Island's class of 1950. Oh, I loved painting that. Yeah, Sherman told a reporter this week. I never had any formal education in painting. By the way, I just used to cartoon. Well, it depicted that era, Sherman continued. A lot of students, friends of mine, would come by and say, you don't do this. Why don't you do that? So that's what I did. So everyone chipped in. Breitbart News reported in June 2019 that George Washington High School in San Francisco decided that they would erase an offensive mural of George Washington. Stay tuned to Breitbart News for more updates on this story. It is getting insane. Absolutely insane. Everything offends everyone these days. Unbelievable. These people, I mean, look at the young men that, were on the Normandy beaches, D-Day. I mean, really, they knew they were facing certain death. They knew that, but they plunged ahead with courage, not even taking into consideration their own lives. And yet, could you see the 18 and 19-year-olds and 17-year-olds doing that today? No. I couldn't either. So, all right. Not that we don't have brave men and women in our military. We most definitely do. And I didn't mean that to disparage any of them. There are still brave men and women, but yeah. And then there's the kind that we see rioting on the streets. So, let's go back now, shall we? Of course we shall. And let's look at this. Now, Andy Ngo is an independent journalist, and he has been doing a fabulous job risking his own life, literally, to bring us what is happening on the streets with these riots. Anyway, he brought us this article, or not article really, but just this little tweet, and we'll actually go out to the article. But Christina Narayan was arrested at the Portland Antifa riot where firebombs were thrown at people. She's the legislative director for the Oregon Democratic Speaker of the House, Tina Kotek. Kotek recently denounced Portland police in a letter. Well, isn't that special? But she's a Democrat, so, you know, what do you expect, really? Let's go out and just take a look at this briefly. And Portland police arrested Dem staffer during a riot. And let me see here. Now, this is from 2 days ago, but it's still fresh. People arrested a top Democratic staff, or police arrested a top Democratic staffer and Oregon state legislator this weekend for interfering with a police officer during the Portland riots. The police arrested Christina Narayan, who is legislative director for the top Democrat in the Oregon's House of Representatives, along with 58 others, during a riot that began Saturday night and continued into Sunday morning, according to Portland Police Bureau report. Narayan had worked for House Speaker Tina Kotek since 2016. On Saturday, officers blocked a crowd marching toward the East Portland Community Policing Center. Police declared a riot after someone in the crowd threw a firebomb towards officers, which set fire to a member of the community. The rioters continued to throw rocks, firework, and mortars toward the police. Nearly 150 calls to Portland police were left on hold Saturday night as the riot forced local police officers to abandon their patrol and help control the violence. Oregon State Police were also on the scene. Kotek's office did not respond to a request for comment. Well, naturally, they wouldn't. Protests in Portland began in late May following the police-involved death of George Floyd and have continued nightly for more than 100 days. Leaders on both the right and the left have condemned the Portland City Council and Mayor Ted Wheeler for endorsing the riots and destruction. And he most certainly has endorsed them. And he's tied police hands because they're not allowed to use, tear gas or anything. It's very unfair to the police, and I can understand why police are resigning, en masse, really. And can you blame them? I can't. So let's go on now. And I want to come down here because he had some other ones that were very interesting. This is arrested at Portland Antifa riot and quickly released. And like I said to you before, that is what's happening. They're arresting these people and they're letting them right back out the next day. It is just an endless circle. I'm sorry, I'm taking off my sock because I'll be more comfortable that way. And, why should I be uncomfortable when I'm doing my show? I shouldn't. All right. So anyway, this one, what they're doing is they're arresting these people, but they're letting them right back out on the street. And the DA refuses to prosecute these people. And these are obviously Democrat DAs. Arrested at the Portland Antifa riot and quickly released. Amber Mahina Gray, 26, felony riot and more. Victor Phillips, 34, felony riot and more, bailed out. Jamie Crush, 26, felony riot and more, bailed out. And that is the other thing. These groups funded by George Soros are literally getting these people their get out of jail free cards. They're paying their bail if there's bail set, and they're if they're in prison or whatever, they're getting them lawyers or whatever. So interesting. So look at some of these people. Here is Ty John Fox, 23, of Astoria, Oregon, was arrested the Portland Antifa riot where Molotovs were thrown. He's ex-military. He's charged with first-degree arson, felony riot, escape, and more. He was released pending trial. Yeah, do you think he'll ever show up for trial? Probably not. The DA announced Fox will be prosecuted. Well, thank goodness for that. But look at this guy, really. Former military. He should be ashamed of himself, really. And there he is with a gun. Oh, big bad boy, isn't he? Yeah. And there's this. I don't know what he's proving with the little, the red hair and the ring through his nose with a flower on it. Well, maybe that's more of a hint than we want to discuss. All right, and let's come down here because he's got all of these. Here's another one. Stephen M. Essig, 27, A militant Antifa was arrested at a violent Portland Antifa riot. He's charged with felony rioting and more. He was quickly released without bail. Online, he expressed support for Antifa shooter Michael Reinhold. Yeah, and it's interesting because he had, and I brought that to you yesterday, but it's one of the ones that didn't have sound, and now I can't find some of them, but some of them, literally, they don't even look human. And it just makes me wonder, and now coming down here, I can't find where he had posted those, and perhaps they were removed. You never know. Twitter is getting really beyond ridiculous with all this stuff, so I don't know. But I did look for his arrest. Like literally, these people did not look human, and most of them I couldn't tell whether they were male or female. So anyway, let's come back here and let's come down here and get into this. Now, this is from USA Today. War zone, deadly wildfires rage in western states. Death toll rises as hundreds of thousands evacuate. Now, this is from yesterday, but look at this. Look at these pictures. Let me see. I don't think there's any sound on these, but look at this. But the thing is, these fires consume houses and cars, but don't burn up the trees. How is that possible? I'd like to know. When you see the houses in this, there's nothing left of them. And the cars, nothing left of them. Nothing. I mean, they're burnt out husks. With a lot of the tires are running metal. The rims actually have melted. And when you see houses burnt to the ground and not even a tub left, you know, I don't know if you've seen many fires, but usually there's, you know, things left. No matter how hot it burns, you've got a tub left, you've got, you know, a fridge or stove, or at least the husk of one. But there's nothing. They burn right down. They burn right down to the foundation, and yet the grass beside them is green. How is that possible? Well, I think we know, don't we? Yes, certain kind of energy weapon. Yes. Oroville, California, wildfires raced through more than a dozen western states Thursday, incinerating homes, forcing hundreds of thousands of evacuations. Hang on here. And burning a swath of land almost the size of New Jersey. At least 23 people have died. I believe that there's a lot more than that. I think that when they go through some of these places, they're going to find bodies. I don't think that they can possibly know at this time how many people have died. Anyway, and hundreds of homes have been destroyed by more than 100 major fires that have consumed nearly 7,000 square miles. Authorities in Oregon say more than 500,000 people statewide have been forced to evacuate because of wildfires, over 10% of the state's 4.2 million population. Unprecedented weather conditions have created emergency situations near wildfires throughout California, Oregon, Washington, and other states. The National Fire Information Center warned almost half of the large fires reported today have evacuation orders in place. But I don't personally believe that they're caused by the weather. I think they're exacerbated by the weather, but personally, I believe some of these have been started by energy weapons, and the other ones, I believe, have been started by arson. And the weather has not, you know, helped the situation any. Anyway, as of Friday, at least 19 deaths have been reported in California, 3 in Oregon and 1 in Washington State. In Northern California's Butte County, Sheriff Corey Hania said that at least 10 people have died, including 7 more added to the death toll Thursday. Dozens are missing, and hundreds of homes were feared destroyed by a series of blazes 125 miles northeast of San Francisco called the North Complex fires. Several people have been critically burned, and thousands more homes were threatened. At least 20,000 people were under evacuation orders or warnings in Plumas, Yuba, and Butte counties. So, I mean, this is absolutely heartbreaking to see. It is. John Sykes, a 50-year-old resident, fled with his car and some clothes. He watched the town of Berry Creek burn from about a mile away. The school is gone, the fire department's gone, the bar's gone, the laundromat's gone, the general store's gone, Sykes told the Sacramento Bee. I'll never go back. I never want to see California again. And I think that we'd probably feel in a similar way if we had gone through that. The fire also threatened Paradise, a town devastated in 2018 by the deadliest inferno in state history, the Camp Fire. More than 80 residents died and almost 20,000 buildings were destroyed in that blaze. In the Sierra National Forest, authorities say it will likely be at least a week and possibly a month before the creek fire is controlled sufficiently to permit residents to return. The fire has displaced tens of thousands of Californians, and the Red Cross was helping evacuees find hotel rooms because group shelters are prohibited during the coronavirus outbreak. Yeah. Fire officials have not yet released detailed maps of the fire damage, but say at least 60 homes and 278 commercial residential structures were destroyed. Rocky Alec, 22, and Kristen Kipp, 21, had to abandon their trailer home near Mammoth. You couldn't really see anything. There was smoke everywhere. We were in too much smoke to see flames, Alex said. At first, we were like it was just another fire. Then it got real. In Southern California, fires burned in Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and San Diego counties, but severe Santa Ana winds forecast for the area were weaker than predicted. The El Dorado fire, which had burned about 20 square miles in San Bernardino County, was listed as 23% contained Thursday. Almost 1,000 firefighters were actively engaged in structure protection and successfully defended multiple structures, California Fire said. Homes have been lost, however, and damage assessment teams were working to confirm the number of homes and businesses and their locations. Fire officials said the blaze was sparked by a pyrotechnic device used during a gender reveal event Saturday. The strong gusty winds over the west weakened Thursday and should continue to do so over the weekend, the National Weather Service said. We're encouraged that the wind activity appears to be dying down, Governor Gavin Newsom said. The rest of the week looks a little more favorable. This is good news for a state where 14,000 firefighters remain on the line of 29 major wildfires. The last weeks have been grueling, as much of the year during which California has already endured 6 of the 20 largest wildfires in its history, including 3 of the top 4. Since January, wildfires have burned almost 5,000 square miles in California, easily a record for the state. There have been 12 fatalities and over 3,900 structures have been destroyed. At least 7 weeks remain in the prime fire season, and low humidity combined with warmer temperatures forecast in coming days will be enough for elevated fire concerns to remain, according to the Weather Service. In addition, a stagnant air mass will likely keep areas of smoke in place across the Northwest, Great Basin, California, and other areas across the West dealing with the wildfires, resulting in continued poor air quality, AccuWeather said. Some more substantial relief may be on the way for the Northwest by early next week as a storm system approaches the coast, potentially bringing some welcome rainfall, according to AccuWeather. Oregon and Washington State have also struggled with historic blazes, and wind-driven fires were also burning in Alaska, Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Texas, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. In Oregon, a series of fires killed 3 people and forced residents to flee flames, smoke, and destruction. Governor Kate Brown said hundreds of residences have been destroyed. She said emergency responders were inundated and urged residents not to call 911 to report smoke or ash clouds. Evacuees poured into the state fairgrounds in the capital city of Salem, many bringing their animals. Brown said more than 900,000 acres have burned across the state in the last several days, nearly double the amount of scorched terrain in a typical year. More than 80,000 people have had to flee their homes, and the count may increase, she said. We have never seen this amount of uncontained fire across the state, Brown said. The Oregon Office of Emergency Management said 39 wildfires were burning in the state by Thursday morning, a number that shocked officials. Jonathan Weir defied evacuation orders as flames 30 feet high shot from the trees in Phoenix, a town of 4,000 residents near the California border. His home was destroyed. There were flames across the street from me, flames to the right of me, flames to the left of me. I just watched everything burn, Weir said. Fires were burning in 7 Oregon counties, and the Alameda Drive fire in southern Oregon prompted evacuation orders in much of Medford, a city of about 80,000 residents. Truck driver Troy Wood said he was driving north on the I-5 and saw a path of destruction as he approached Ashland, a few miles southeast of Medford. It looked like a war zone, Wood said. You could see burned out gas stations and buildings on fire. It's terrible. Let's see what this is.
Watch what happens when someone with arthritis.
Of course, we have to listen to the, there we go. I think we, yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, let's go back here. And I think that's, well, in Washington State, Governor Jay Inslee toured the devastated farm town of Malden, about 35 miles south of Spokane, and said wildfires have charred nearly 937 square miles of terrain. We've had this trauma all over Washington, Inslee said, according to KHQ TV, but this is the place where the whole heart of the town was torn out. Inslee placed the blame for the rash of fires squarely on climate change. Oh, please, insert collective eye roll. Yeah. He said, we are stronger, smarter, and more resilient than that, and I'll be thinking of these fires and the communities they're impacting when we take our next steps to defeat climate change. Now, of course, they want to blame it on climate change because they say that Trump is soft on climate change. So, of course, they're going to be blaming this on Trump. And I don't know, but a lot of these fires are on purpose, and I don't believe anything other than that. Now, certainly the winds and so forth and the dryness and lack of humidity has exacerbated it. But yeah, I don't believe they just spring up organically. Maybe some do, a lightning strike or something, but when you see homes burnt to the ground, their foundations, but there's still trees standing around it, something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong with that. And that's what we're seeing. So, yeah. And what's this? Yeah, well, let's go back now. And yeah, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump down here for a minute and then I'll come back up here. But this is these are the fires that are burning. Now, these little things aren't. They're just temperatures. But everywhere where you see little flame there, like all of this is fires. But here's something curious. Yeah, I guess these fires are really, really smart, because they don't cross the Canadian border. What's up with that? Because this is all the same climate as Washington State, right up here in Vancouver. You know, just because you cross the border doesn't mean it gets suddenly cold. Vancouver is got a temperate climate all year round, and it's hot there. And they've got the same conditions, so why aren't any of them happening in Canada? They seem to skip that part of Canada, but then they're all up in Alaska. So that's curious, don't you think? What is that? These fires are smart, man. They know enough not to cross the border. All right, now I'm going to move on from that, and I'm going to look at this, which should make you sick. It kind of makes me sick. Burger King depicts mascot in gay kiss with Ronald McDonald for new ad campaign. Yeah, you heard that right. Can't make that stuff up. And The tagline is "Love conquers all," and with the little rainbow symbol. Burger King has launched a new advertising campaign in Finland featuring its eponymous mascot sharing a deep kiss with Ronald McDonald, along with the English slogan, "Love conquers all." The image is front and center on the landing page of the fast food chain's Finnish website, with various outlets with a focus on advertising showing physical posters at locations such as public bus stops as well. The campaign appears to be in aid of Helsinki Pride Week, which was moved to September from its usual slot due to the Chinese coronavirus pandemic. It also appears to have been influenced by the race politics of the Black Lives Matter movement, featuring the new version of the pride flag topped with black and brown stripe in order to represent non-white and non-heterosexuals specifically. So, yeah, there is the kiss. And Burger King has always stood for equality, love, and everyone's right to be just the way they are, claimed the burger-selling franchise's brand manager in Finland, Kaisa Kasila. The only instance where it might not seem so is when we're bantering with our competitor, but we want to be clear. It all stems from the respect we have for them, and we know McDonald's stands for the values we stand for too, Kasila added. Yeah, but I think you maybe should have asked them first before you use their mascot in that way. Maybe that's just me. No, I don't think it is. We thought, what a better way to convey our values than by portraying an all-encompassing kiss between Burger King and McDonald's. We wanted to show that in the end, love always wins. Right. And Burger King is by no means the only multinational enterprises to indulge in advertising campaigns which have much to do with politics and social justice causes and little to do with their core business in recent years. Just this August, for example, Unilever owned Ben & Jerry's launched into a tirade against the British government on social media for his rhetoric, but not action, against the steadily worsening Channel migrant crisis, which has seen waves of up to 416 migrants a day crossing to England from France in small boats daily. We think the real crisis is our lack of humanity for people fleeing war, climate change, and torture, the ice cream sellers lectured in a lengthy Twitter thread, heedless of the fact that illegal aliens are not facing war or torture in France, and that climate change, such as it is the same on both sides of the English Channel. The fashion for mammoth corporate interests indulging in diverse left-wing political activism has been dubbed woke capitalism by critics. Yeah, so Ben & Jerry's should drop the woke-splaining and stick to ice cream. Yeah, and I think that Burger King needs to stick to burgers. Yeah, we don't need their view on anything. Do you know why Burger King is even? Because they serve burgers. Now, I wouldn't eat there. Like, I don't even know. Well, now, if I was starving to death, I might, but I don't know. Not a fan of Burger King, and I've heard that it's a very dirty chain in terms of the standards of cleanliness. I don't know if that's true, so maybe that's unfair for me to say, but that is what I've heard continually. And yeah. All right, now let's look at this, because I think this is very appropriate for today. This from Red State Nation. Bible verse melted to steel in 9/11 attacks send a fascinating message to America. I'm just going to take a moment and enjoy my hot, tasty beverage here. And I hope you have one as well. I am drinking Tim Hortons coffee. That's what I'm drinking. And it is delicious. That's good coffee. I don't care what anybody says. Up here, everyone drinks Tim Horton coffee, just about everyone. It is the workday ritual, and we like to wonder aloud if they put crack in their coffee, because literally Canadians cannot live without it, and that's true. All right, when the Chief of Staff, Andrew Card, knelt down and told George Bush America is under attack 15 years ago Sunday, the words he whispered in the president's ear in a Florida classroom launched what was supposed to be a planned, orderly response to a national emergency. But what followed instead was chaos, a breakdown in communication, and protocol that risked international conflict and could have made September 11th, 2001, a still bigger tragedy. There were live nukes on the tarmac at U.S. air bases, a failed communication system, and a security protocol for the president and his potential successors, the continuity of government plan that only one top official followed. But we are America, and we trust God's plan, and it seems he trusts us, because in all that chaos and pain, God has sent us a message through a small piece of steel. From the New York Times, retaliation, ye have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. Isn't that interesting? So many chapters, so many verses, but these were the words from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in the Gospel of Matthew, found permanently exposed at ground zero after the September 11th attacks. The pages of the Bible in which they were printed had fused to a chunk of steel at the World Trade Center, collapsed, to be found only months later. A firefighter found the fragment in March 2002 under the Tully Road, a temporary truck route that covered the last remnants of the South Tower. He called out to the photographer, who happened to be nearby. And this is it. And it's literally fused to the steel, which is absolutely incredible. I'm not sure how that happens, but it did. Let me come down here. This shredded, burned, and rubble-covered Bible came to me from the loving hands of a fireman who knew that I was the record keeper of Ground Zero. Mr. Meyerowitz, I think that's how you pronounce it, Meyerowitz, said Thursday in an email from Italy, where he now lives. Mr. Meyerowitz went on to say, my astonishment at seeing the page that the Bible was open to made me realize that the Bible's message survives throughout time, and in every area, in every era, we interpretate its teaching, I don't know, I can't talk tonight. I don't know, maybe it's the coffee. Maybe there is crack in that coffee. My astonishment at seeing the page that the Bible was open to made me realize that the Bible's message survives throughout time, and in every era we interpret its teaching freshly as the occasion demands. The Bible was also recently paid a visit by the Pope. This is truly an amazing story, and while I don't think the idea of retaliation in this context is speaking of defending the country from terrorist attacks, it's a poignant message nonetheless. It's easy to forget, even as a Christian, that we're all sinners in need of the saving grace of Jesus. That includes radical terrorists, murderers, adulterers, thieves, and so on. None of us are better than anyone else. Before the eyes of God, we are all truly equal, regardless of race, ethnicity, political beliefs, and so on, because we've all offended a holy, righteous God with our sinfulness. Thankfully, God sent his son Jesus to die on the cross so that those who repent and trust him could be saved, no matter how bad they might think they are. This miracle, this page of scripture, is a reminder that while we should most definitely take action to defend ourselves from attack, we do not have to allow our hearts and minds to be held captive by hate, regardless of how badly others may hurt us. In our current culture, which seems to be obsessed with death, these are much needed words of hope. Snope has the following comment about this discovery. In short, it's neither impossible nor implausible that Meyerowitz did document a heart-shaped Bible page fused to a steel beam found in the World Trade Center rubble after 9/11 and given to him by a firefighter. However, We haven't yet found any mention of that story appearing prior to 2013 or 2014, despite the fact that his body of work is strongly associated with the aftermath of 9/11. And as far as we know, the firefighter from whom Meyerowitz received the relic has never been identified, nor has he stepped forward to corroborate the discovery. But, of course, that's Snopes. So anything that they are far, far, far left, and it has nothing to do with whether something's factual or not, because they regularly say things are not factual, which clearly are. So I don't trust anything they would have to say, especially in this regard, because I do remember that story. And it was after 9/11, but it wasn't that far after 9/11. And they talked about finding this Bible in the rubble that was open to this page. I had actually forgotten about it until I saw this article again. And I think it is a very timely and it's a very timely message to us, especially today. So I thought that that was a must cover. At least I thought it was anyway. Okay, let's come back here. And we've already covered this about the fires not crossing the Canadian border. They are so obedient. My gosh. Yeah. I wonder if Canadian fires are that obedient. I don't know. But anyway, let's look at this. This is interesting as well. Well, I'm not going to bring you anything that's not interesting. I mean, come on now. The National Pulse: links between Transition Integrity Project and fake news. Atlantic magazine runs deep. Now, this is from today, so it is hot and fresh. The Transition Integrity Project, a George Soros, Democrat, and Never Trump linked group keen on securing a victory for Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, has long-standing links to the Atlantic magazine, the globalist outlet that recently published a false report claiming President Trump denigrated veterans as losers and suckers. The National Pulse reached out to the group for comment on the relationship, but the Transition Integrity Project declined to respond. Gee, can't imagine why. Globalists of a feather: Jeffrey Goldberg's Atlantic article, which purported President Trump lacks respect for America's military, has all the hallmarks of a politically motivated fake news story. Well, it's politically motivated hit piece is what it is. Not only have those involved debunked the claims, which rely on anonymous officials, but the editor even admitted the central thesis may not be true. Who writes an article and then says, well, it may not be true? Who does that? Really? What responsible journalist in the world does that? I'm saying responsible journalist. Anyway, the yarn is also linked to the Transition Integrity Project and its members. The election group Soros-linked founder Rosa Brooks has vowed she'd do every legal and ethical thing within her power to elect Biden, and uncritically shared the story to her Twitter account. A day later, she posted a bogus article attempting to corroborate the obscure details of the story. What's more, Brooks appeared on a Deep State radio episode entitled "And the Home of the Suckers and Losers." Fellow Transition Integrity Project participant Ed Luce, who Rosa described as helping shape the project, also spoke on the episode. Host David Rothkopf introduced the Atlantic piece as a story that a friend of several of ours, Jeffrey Goldberg, ran in the Atlantic Monthly. While he failed to specify who he's talking about, Rothkopf maintains a close relationship with Brooks, and the description of his podcast describes Brooks as a regular on the Deep State radio show. Another guest, David Sanger of the New York Times, opines that the issue of military spending and war is another issue that Biden could capitalize on, emphasizing it's an opportunity that Biden has. Following that strategy, he notes that he was somewhat impressed by how quickly they did leap upon the Atlantic story. David Frum, a staff writer at The Atlantic, is also involved with the Transition Integrity Project, participating in the group's infamous War Games and writing a glowing review of the group for The Rag. In fact, the Transition Integrity Project's 22 seminal report features two articles from The Atlantic of the 13 sources, including in its press coverage appendix. Brooks herself has written articles for The Atlantic, as well as provide an exclusive interview to the publication in 2016, considering the Transition Integrity Project counts participation from nationally prominent journalists and experts on media. The prospect of Goldberg affiliating with this group is not a stretch, given he's the editor-in-chief of the publication and boss of Transition Integrity Project members such as From. Yeah, so there you go. And very interesting. Okay, let's go on now. Every time we seem to come back to my favorite post here. This is a lion by the sea. It was done in, what, 18 something? I don't know why I'm even telling you about it, but I have it open so that I won't forget about it because I want to order this. All right. I love that print. Okay, let's go back now. And let's look at this. Donald J. Trump. Another historic breakthrough day. Our two great friends, Israel and the Kingdom of Bahrain, agree to a peace deal, the second Arab country to make peace with Israel in 30 days. Now, as I said, Trump is up for a Nobel Peace Prize, and I believe that he deserves one. He's done more to bring peace, and he hasn't initiated any wars. He's de-escalated a lot of tense situations around the world and continues to do so, and he deserves it. But that doesn't mean anything. I mean, obviously Obama didn't deserve one and he won. So that kind of cheapens the whole experience, don't you think? Okay, and this by Dr. Fred. By executive order, Barack Obama banned the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. This is one of Barack Obama's accomplishments. We cannot have another one like this in the White House. I could not agree more. Really, when Donald Trump says that the future of America is at stake, he means it. I mean, you know he means it, because these people have no good plans for America except to line their own pockets and to sell us out to the globalists. All right, and this is Sherry. The best is yet to come. Netflix bans Gone with the Wind, which is, it's historical and it accurately depicts what happened, but they ban that. But airs cuties sexually exploiting 11-year-old little girls. Cancel Netflix. I did. Yeah, I did too. I hardly ever watched it anyway, so. Now, let's look at this. More Biden gaffes. All right, Biden says he worked on 2016 climate accord with the leader who died in 1997. Wow, he's collaborating with dead people, apparently. Well, that's what that says to me. Now, this is from February 25th, but I think that it's worth revisiting, don't you think? Yeah, he worked on 2016 climate accord with a leader who died in 1997. Yes, he did, according to him. And, he would never lie, would he? Washington, gaffe-prone former VP Joe Biden put his foot in it again on Monday, claiming to have worked on a 2016 Paris Climate Accord with a Chinese leader who died 19 years earlier. During a campaign stop in South Carolina ahead of the state's primary on Saturday, Biden told a crowd his experience on the world stage as vice president under Barack Obama made him the right person to defeat President Trump. Right. Defeat him at what? At being president? No. But he could defeat him by being the biggest, well, all right. I'm not going to finish that sentence because I'm a lady. Okay. One of the things I'm proudest of is getting, hang on here. Yeah, one of the things I'm proudest of is getting passed, getting moved, getting in control of the Paris Climate Accord. Biden told the crowd in a video circulating on Twitter, "I'm the guy who came back after meeting with Deng Xiaoping and and making the case that I believe China will join if we put pressure on them. We got almost 200 nations to join," he said. Yeah. Only problem is Deng Xiaoping, China's former paramount leader, died in 1997. And that's right, 1997. It's unclear if Biden was referring to China's current president, Xi Jinping, who took power in 2013 and oversaw China's involvement in the 2016 climate deal. The presidential wannabe has been plagued by constant word salad on the campaign trail, on Monday night telling South Carolina voters that he was running for the United States Senate. The 77-year-old, whose White House bid is now on life support, is also under fire for claims he was arrested while trying to see Nelson Mandela in South Africa. Over the past 2 weeks, Biden has repeatedly claimed he was cuffed in Soweto with the U.S. ambassador for trying to visit Mandela at Robben Island prison in the 1970s. But Andrew Young, the former U.S. ambassador to the UN who traveled with Biden to South Africa, denied that ever happened. "No, I was never arrested, and I don't think he was either," Young, 85, told the New York Times. Biden is pinning his presidential hopes on black voters. Good luck with that. In the Palmetto State, long considered his campaign's firewall after disastrous showings in Iowa and New Hampshire, but new polls show Biden's huge lead has vanished and he is locked in a tight race with Vermont socialist Senator Bernie Sanders. Now, of course, this is old, but it's important to revisit this now. Of all times, we should be revisiting these things. Yeah. So there you go. Now, let's go on. There's more. There's always more. And let's take a look at this. More about Joe Biden. Imagine that. Mystery, as Joe Biden tweeted about the pandemic 6 months before America's pandemic and even before COVID-19 in China. Now, I think I covered this, but, well, I'm covering it again. Dates, like math, seldom lie, unlike politicians who lie for a living. The date on one particular Joe Biden tweet from October 2019, therefore, stands out as beyond suspicious, just like the Washington Post story. Biden's tweet is a response to about the pandemic and America's response to a pandemic, but this was months before the pandemic in America and even months before the COVID-19 breakout in China. Part of the script, you might say? For a bumbling, mumbling guy who can't formulate a complete, coherent sentence on a good day, you have to wonder who briefed Joe in the Washington Post about a pandemic 6 months before the United States shut down. Who is writing the script? That's a good question. And here is the actual tweet in question. The Washington Post wrote, "None of these 195 countries, the U.S. included, is fully prepared for a pandemic." And Joe Biden responds and says, "We are not prepared for a pandemic. Trump has rolled back progress President Obama and I made to strengthen global health security. We need leadership that builds public trust, focuses on real threats, and mobilizes the world to stop outbreaks before they reach our shore." Well, that was October, and of course, by January, we knew all about the virus. Chinese, at least we knew the news in China. And here is Joe Biden posting about this on October 25th, 2019. Yeah. How does that work? All right. Well, let's go on. There's more. And we're going to get to it. Yes, we are. And let's look at this. This is very interesting. Author of dystopian classics predicted face masks to enforce conformity 70 years ago. Ernest Junger said masks would become commonplace to eradicate individuality. Isn't that interesting? I think so. Respected German author Ernst Junger predicted the ubiquitousness of face masks to enforce conformity and uniformity in a dystopian future society in a novel called The Worker that was published nearly 90 years ago. I haven't read that, but I'm going to read it. I need to order that and read it because I love dystopian novels because they do tend to have little nuggets, well, big nuggets of truth. With face masks now becoming a mandatory part of the new normal, the enforcement measures to make people wear them by both agents of the state and members of the general public are becoming more dehumanizing and draconian. This is precisely the scenario envisaged by enigmatic German author Ernst Junger in his 1932 classic. As Thomas Crew details in his article, The Dystopian Age of the Mask, the eradication of all individuality is a running theme of all dystopian literature. This is expressed by George Orwell in 1984, where he describes the masses as a nation of warriors and fanatics marching forward in perfect unity, all thinking the same thoughts and shouting the same slogans. 300 million people, all with the same face. Crew explains that this theme is dominant in Junger's The Worker, where the uniformity of the new age is symbolized by the sudden proliferation of the mask in contemporary society. It's no coincidence, he writes, that the mask is again beginning to play a decisive role in public life. It is appearing in many different ways, be it as a gas mask with which they are trying to equip entire populations, be it as a face mask for sport and high speeds, seen on every racing driver, be it as a safety mask for workplaces exposed to radiation, explosions, or narcotic substances. We can assume, he continued with an eerie prescience, that the mask will come to take on functions that we can today hardly imagine. Crew explains how the public has been brainwashed to believe that the continuation of life, no matter how stifled, atomized, and undignified it may be, is the only consideration. Given the sudden ubiquity of the face mask in 2020 across the entire globe and in an increasing number of social contexts, it is impossible to avoid the conclusion that it's precisely the sort of development Junger had in mind. Our readiness to obscure the face reflects the dehumanizing tendencies that for Junger underlie the modern period. It represents another stage in the degradation of the individual that became explicit in the First World War, whether as a scrap of material on the battlefield or a cog in the machine of the wartime economy. The modern age has a habit of reducing the human being to a functional object. Everything non-essential, everything that makes us human, is blithely discarded. As we document in the video below, the level of compliance that government and the media have been able to indoctrinate people to embrace means there is little need for police officers and security officials to enforce mask wearing. And I'm not sure how long this is, but I don't really think that I should play it because it belongs to Paul Joseph Watson. And I probably, if you go on to his Twitter, or not Twitter, but his YouTube account, you will find this, but I don't, because it's not my work, I don't feel that it's right for me to play this in its entirety anyway. All right, so let's go on now, and let's see what else there is, because there's more stuff. Okay. Now, let's look at this. This by Leanna Simmons. The media and corrupt politicians are priming the public for their planned coup on election night. And we discussed this yesterday. They are telling us over and over that they are going to need weeks to count ballots. Social media is telling us they will censor anyone claiming Trump has won the night of the election. They are committing treason right in our faces. The whole country needs to know this, even those who do not believe it. And that is so true. Now, there is a couple more things that I must get to. How long have we been going here? 59 minutes, yes. Well, and we are still recording and everything looks to be fine, so that's good. Let's come back here. I'm going to skip this one because we've already covered the fires, and we're going to hit on this because this is important. And I think this is very telling of what their plans are, meaning the left. Because look at this, the DC Patriot, she's back. Hillary Clinton joins Kamala Harris on the campaign trail Monday. Why would Hillary Clinton be joining Kamala on the campaign trail? Why would she? Well, I don't know, but we know that Joe Biden is probably not even going to make it to the election, really. I mean, he's getting worse and worse and worse by the day. So, I think they have planned Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. Now, that would be terrifying and emasculating for every man in America, really, because, well, you know what I mean. All right. You just knew it was too good to be true, didn't you, America? Hillary Clinton is back into the picture as she will join vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris on the campaign trail on Monday. And why isn't Joe Biden on the campaign trail? Well, we know the answer to that, but, I guess he's just too busy in his basement. The former Democratic nominee will be doing her first grassroots event with Harris, as Democrats are hoping to be the first party in history to put a woman in the White House, not known as a first lady. We'll talk about the Biden-Harris team's plan to get the country back on track, how all of us can help elect Democrats down ballot, and maybe even those chucks, Clinton tweeted out on Wednesday. Now, it's not that, I'm all for a woman in the White House. I'm just not for those women in the White House. I just want to make that plain. It's not that I don't think that a woman could do the job. I just don't think those women can do the job. All right, Hillary Clinton, I hope you'll join Kamala Harris and me for our first grassroots event together next Monday. We'll talk about the Biden-Harris team's plan to get our country back on track, how all of us can help elect Democrats down ballot, and maybe even those chucks. I don't know what that even means. Maybe those chucks. I don't know. Probably somebody's going to write it and then I'm going to go. But back in May, Clinton helped raise $2 million for a joint fundraising committee for the Biden campaign and the DNC. The Biden campaign is declining to provide any additional details at this time about Monday's virtual fundraiser. Yeah, so that's it. That's all the details we have, but would you go to see them? Oh, and look where you donate. Act Blue, of course. Of course. Yeah. So, and Hillary Clinton here looks about 20 years younger. She looks younger than Kamala looks there. What's up with that? Could be an old picture, or it could be a new Hillary. I don't know. All right, let's go back. We've got more. And let's come down here. And I'm sorry, but Ted Cruz won the internet today. He did. Because this is what he wrote. Trevor Noah says, says comedian Trevor Noah, I don't think he's funny, personally. To each of their own. Comedian Trevor Noah offended by gender reveal parties. Child hasn't picked gender yet. So he's offended by the idea of a gender reveal party because the child hasn't, had an opportunity to choose its own gender. Okay, well, Ted Cruz saw this and responded. A fair point, he said. Many liberal males never grow balls. I'm sorry, but it's crude, but my gosh, it's funny. So yeah, he won the internet today. All right, let's look at this. I can't remember what this is, to tell you the truth. Watch February. Okay. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Watch. February 2020 video features Joe Biden telling his rally crowd it's not time to panic about coronavirus. Yeah, and he was the one that told Trump he was xenophobic and hysterical by shutting the country down, or shutting, travel down from China and so forth, and on and on and on. But here he is back there. I mean, he lies through his teeth. And I don't think he has the memory to, if you want to be a good liar, you have to have a good memory, really. And, well, clearly, he's neither a good liar nor has a good memory. So, the Dems have launched their latest hit piece against President Trump. The time came for... I'm sorry, I just saw this, and, it distracted me because I just saw this eggs and ketchup, and I just kind of turned my stomach there. Okay, the Dems have launched their latest hit piece against President Trump. This time it came from Democrat journalist Bob Woodward, who released audio tapes of conversation he and the president had for his new book. And, let's come down here. Yes, President Trump voluntarily sat down with Woodward, which many people find odd, but Trump had nothing to hide. However, he needs to remember that the left will twist and selectively edit everything to create a scandal. The crux of the hit piece is that President Trump knew how deadly that COVID was, but hid it from the American people. It's a silly premise, especially since President Trump has publicly said that he was trying to avoid spreading panic on numerous occasions. And yes, he said that to Woodward as well, but that doesn't stop the media and Dem pundits with spinning the story to suit their narrative. And that's exactly what they did, even going so far as to demand Trump resign or get impeached again. Absurd. And this is Jennifer Rubin. She said he should resign, period. If not, House should impeach yet again. I'm serious. Oh, we don't care what you have to say, whoever you are. And this is what presidents do. They monitor information and data and do their best to keep the country calm during a crisis. Even befuddled politicians like Joe Biden get that. During a February 28th rally, Joe told all of his super spreader rally goers that it was not time to panic about coronavirus yet. You can watch the video below. Yeah, this was February 28th.
But I want to take a moment to say it's not a time to panic about coronavirus.
So there you go. He's guilty of everything that he's, blamed Trump for. He himself is guilty of, but you're never going to hear that from him. And he was right. And he actually said that Trump was right to shut down the country. But now listen to him. Oh, he could have saved millions of lives. He could have saved like 500 million lives. Well, he didn't say that, but I wouldn't put it past him. However, what was irresponsible and negligent was when Joe called Trump xenophobic for canceling flights to China, and at the same time, politicians like Pelosi and de Blasio and other Dems were pushing people to get out and mingle, and were even going to Chinatown to fight Trump's racism. That was putting Americans in danger, not what President Trump did. And I think we all understand that. So let's go back now and see what else we have here. I do have quite a few more things to get to, but I'm not going to have time tonight unless I do another short video, a very, very short video. But yeah, look at this. 18 years after 9/11. 18 years. You teach Islam in your public schools. You allow Sharia law in your cities. You had a president who promoted Islam. You bow to their demand. Oh, I'm sorry. You welcome my followers as refugees. You bow to their demands for you to change. My followers wage jihad inside America. You elect my followers to your Congress. Democrats defend those who support me. You are banned from offending my fellow Muslims. I'm not sure. You are banned from criticizing my ideology. With the help of your Democratic Party, I won. Well, that is quite poignant, if you ask me. So, now, I think what I'm going to do, because I am going to try to do this every time. Actually, there's a few more things that I really want to get to, but not quite enough to do a full show. So, yeah, I'm going to do this because it's 9/11 related, and tomorrow it won't be 9/11, so it should be in today's show. So let's get to this, and then I have a feel-good story, because I am going to attempt to find one every single broadcast, because I think we need to have something positive to look at and not focus all the time on the negative. There are still good people in this world. There are still good things happening. If we look and we open our eyes, and the wonder of creation is all around us. I mean, just look at your pets that you love so much, and how much pleasure they give you, and take some time to reflect on the positive in your life and reflect on those things that are good. I go out sometimes and I just walk through the woods and things, and I listen to the birds singing and the sun shining through the trees and all the sounds around me, and even the snapping of the little twigs under my feet, and I feel alive when I do that, because I'm concentrating on creation rather than the created and the chaos that is around us. So anyway, I just encourage you all to do that as well. Take a little bit of time each day to kind of reflect on the good, and it will lift your spirits, I promise you. But anyway, we're going to get to the feel-good story after this. All right. So it says, we will never forget, September 11th, 2001, Southeast London. All right, and this is from today. Now, everything was prepared, information memorized, speech practice, equipment deployed, photocopies printed, furniture arranged, and even a classroom television on wheels strategically positioned to display the grade 4 syllabus in action. I had brought my packed lunch and performed my breathing exercises. Every eventuality had been covered. It was Meet the Parents Day in the first week of the first term of my first year teaching in a primary school. Appointments started at 9 o'clock, and I sat at my super organized desk looking out the side door from my immaculately ordered classroom. The first pair of parents timidly crossed the playground to be impressed by their child's new teacher, and I was ready. Tie straightened, breathing calmed, greeting sheet in hand, welcoming smile on face. I was ready. What could possibly go wrong? The look on their faces was wrong for a start. And if they just lost their door keys and wallet and as if they just lost their door keys and wallet and their favorite pet. Well, good morning. Have you heard what's happened? Was not exactly the response I'd expected. The best laid plans of mice and men could not have prepared me for what came next, as these agitated and rather distraught people recounted what they had just heard on the car radio. The Twin Towers in New York had been hit by an airplane. At the moment, New York City seemed as close to us as London, a half-hour drive. It was a visceral feeling, very physical and immediately and serious. This should not be happening. Not today. This should not be happening. Reaching through the cognitive dissonance, I suspended my anxious getting-to-know-you chat as IT coordinator instinctively punched the TV on switch on the remote. Up came BBC News 24 on the screen, and our worst fears were confirmed. The surreal sight of New York City engulfed in thick black smoke, together with panicked and disjointed commentary from God knows who. Simultaneously, a second set of parents joined us, and the head of janitors entered the room, speechless. We stared at the screen in disbelief. What could you say? Is this live? Is it an accident? Are there people in there? Do you know anyone in New York? What the is going on? I didn't give out a single welcome to grade 4 info pack that morning, and my best laid plans went asunder as the classroom filled with shocked parents. Some stayed perched on tiny chairs, bringing latecomers up to speed, and others rushed home to the comfort of their plasma screens. We were all silent at the moment a mum called out, "There's another one." As we witnessed the second plane plow into the South Tower 15 minutes after the first impact, we all knew this was no accident, as some had hoped. Unequivocally, unprecedentedly, this was no accident. This was something unimaginably new. And our speculation was cut short again when the rather disheveled head mistress herself appeared to inform us a third plane had hit the Pentagon. The Pentagon. How many more? Were they going to hit London next? Who the hell is doing this? Is anywhere safe now? People were completely caught up in the events that were unfolding in front of their eyes, as if they were there personally. They had questions. Where there were no answers, and a genuine feeling of indescribable anxiety permeated the room, as though something immense had begun, yet we knew not what or by whom. At one moment that morning, I remember stepping back thinking, well, this is an ill omen. I have a classroom full of weeping and traumatized parents. This does not bode well for my career. The next minute, Building 7 collapsed. Along with any doubt, we had entered a brand new and very different century. As it turned out, for me, it was the beginning of a wonderful year, one of the best, spent with an incredible bunch of fourth graders and supportive parents. Perhaps the bond we formed on that day, 11th of September 2001, brought us closer and got us through together. Now, this is very, very interesting. Breaking with royal protocol. Actually, to tell you the truth, I may do this as the feel-good story because it is, and I may put the other one off until tomorrow because it is a full show already, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, let me continue. Editor's note, breaking with royal protocol, Queen Elizabeth II ordered the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner at Buckingham Palace, for which we patriots were most grateful. Observing a 2-minute silence in London is among the most poignant moments ever. A few days later, at a memorial service for 9/11 victims in St. Paul's, the assembled attendees again sang our anthem. Small but mighty emotional support moments to many of us Americans. Now, for the first time, the Queen allowed her troops to play the Star-Spangled Banner, the national anthem of the United States. I'm getting goosebumps. During the ceremony in tribute to the many who died. Standing beyond the palace railings, many of the 5,000 Americans broke down in tears and held their right hands over their heart in salute. At first, the anthem played by the band of the Coldstream Guards was heard in a hushed silence. Then slowly, one by one, many started singing until the words of the Star-Spangled Banner echoed across Green Park. As the final notes of the anthem faded away, the musical tribute from the British Armed Forces, so warmly welcomed by those present, was greeted by a round of applause before a 2-minute silence was observed. Traffic on the Mall, one of central London's busiest thoroughfares, came to a halt during the tribute. Standing rigidly to attention in the palace courtyard in front of the troops from the Coldstream Guards and the first BN, I'm not sure, battalion, I guess probably that means, the Devonshire and Dorset Regiment, the Duke of York, representing the Queen, took the formal salute. Beside him, with hand on his heart, stood William Farish, the American ambassador to Britain. So that, I think, it makes me want to cry, actually. It really does. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I remember exactly what I was doing. And I was looking after my pastor's children, actually. They were out of town, and I was looking after them. And we were all gathered around the breakfast table when the phone rang. We didn't have the TV on that morning because we were enjoying breakfast together. And it was their parents, and they were stranded at an airport in Texas because they all the planes were grounded. And she tried to explain to me what was happening, and I kept saying, what? I could not understand. I could not. And we turned the TV on in time to see the towers. I mean, it just seconds later, the towers collapsing. And so I just never forget that. And we all hugged each other. And I remember saying to them, you will remember this day and where you were for the rest of your lives. And they didn't understand it then, but I'm quite sure they do now. And I said to them at the time, forever after, you will mark time before 9/11 and after 9/11. And indeed, we do. So, yeah, anyway, you guys have a wonderful night. God bless America, and God bless those people that work to keep us safe. All the firefighters that worked that day, that lost their lives doing their duty, and police officers, first responders. So anyway, we just take the time to honor them and remember their sacrifice. So you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it so much. And I enjoy spending this time with you, and I plan to continue. So thank you very much. I know you have a choice of who to listen to. So it's always humbling that you choose to listen to me, and I appreciate it. So thank you guys. You have a wonderful night. Stay safe and stay well, and keep seeking truth. Good night, guys.